us in celebrating Small Business Month this October with UPS as we celebrate the UPScale Podcast Series, where we will be talking to small business owners about what it takes to have a successful and thriving company. We'll also get into some of their secrets for managing UPS as partners, along with all these other topics that are key when you're running your own enterprise. For our second episode, we got the chance to chat with Ilana Ben-Ari, founder of 21 Toys. Ilana Ben-Ari is a multiple award-winning design entrepreneur, TEDx Speaker, Ariane de Rothschild Fellow in Inc., magazine's top 100 female founders of 2020, and she has been working at the intersection of design and social innovation for over a decade. Her company, 21 Toys, has been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, Bloomberg, and her invention, the Empathy Toy, was praised by Time magazine as a technology that is reshaping the future. In this podcast, Ilana shares her journey and inspiration to start a business while also sharing how she resolved the challenges during this time. She goes on explaining why partnering with brands like UPS are so important for any entrepreneur's success story, as they helped Ilana resolve some of those obstacles in order to reach where she is today. Hi, Ilana. On behalf of Canadian SME, I'd like to welcome you to our UPScale Podcast Series. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Amazing, and very pleased to have you with us this afternoon. Now, Ilana, you are a big thinker, and your invention has been recognized for its innovation and creativity. And it is, always encouraging to see someone go beyond the ordinary in order to create something new that can change our world forever. And your company just did that. It has brought the transformative power of play into thousands of boardrooms and classrooms worldwide through an expanding collection of toys, workshops, and training programs that prepare teams to unlock skills like empathy and failure, which we need in today's day. Ilana, now let's hear it from you. Tell us a little bit about your business and what inspired you to start it.
So thanks again for having me. I just wanted to say that UPS, we didn't plan for it to be part of our origin story, but it has. So it feels very full circle now at the age that we're at to be able to connect with UPS and the folks that are listening. What inspired me to start 21 Toys, I like to say I was a recovering A student. So I was one of those students that worked really, really hard at school. My family didn't have very much growing up, and I knew from a young age that if I wanted to get into my dream school, I'd need to have really good marks to get full scholarship to afford it. And so I kind of did what I was told to do, which was be very good at school. And then I became enraged when I went to university and discovered that being good at school had almost nothing to do with being good at life or even work for that matter. So all the skills that we had really focused on and the ones that we maybe ignored, the ones that are more artistic or creative and much harder to mark were the ones that weren't really as valued. And kind of looking back, and now that I've started 21 Toys, it's those skills that are the most important to the future of work, as well as to like our own well-being. So I kind of started from a place of rage, but really kind of led down this really creative path. I was definitely a kid that loved being creative, but that was always seen as kind of a hobby, not as something I could take as seriously as, let's say, physics or math, which I was equally as good at, but a lot more, let's say, encouraged to excel at.
A good starting point for sure. But Ilana, when people start their own businesses, they often face challenges that can be difficult to overcome. And these include the risk of failure and maybe limited resources. As you mentioned, your journey, you can also resonate with it, which may lead them down an unfulfilling path if not dealt with properly. And you're right, the process of starting a business is long-winded, but there are ways around these hurdles. What was the biggest challenge you faced when starting your business, and how did you overcome that challenge?
It's funny because I always find these questions challenging. I don't want to say just one, but I would probably add that there's multiple. So just for lots and lots of folks who are trying businesses, not having the right resources is one of the largest challenges. You can turn that into an opportunity, but having very little financial resources, very little like expertise. So you're still learning. You're not surrounded by folks who are exceptionally skilled and have free time and want to help you. So just understanding that it's okay that you don't have all those resources. is a major challenge, not a reason not to do it. But I find that a lot of times when you talk about like failure and resilience, one of the reasons we started or created the failure toy is that when we talk about failure, there seems to be a very loud voice from the startup community that would say, fail fast, fail often. And while that's very noble, and I think that's as like a swing to the other extreme, which is we don't talk about failure at all, there's a lot of privilege in the discussion around failure. So I like to joke that, you can fail your first 3 companies, but your 4th one, you nailed it. I was like, we don't all have the privilege of failing at 3 companies and making the 4th one work. And so what I find is just a healthy dialogue around what failure means. And it's a different thing for each person. One person can fail a million times and lose millions of dollars. They are okay with that risk, either because they have that privilege or that support, or just because they're just built that way. Where others, the risk that you can take or the failures have to do with the relationships that you have. So a lot of folks start businesses with friends. That tends to be very, has its own risks. Or relationships with your friends and family who are supporting you in starting your business, but then get really upset if you are always having to cancel on them or change plans, because a business is much like a newborn child. Like, it needs minute by minute attention for the most part, for you to be able to get it off the ground, and you're the single person to keep it alive, not just bring it into existence, but to keep it alive. So I think my greatest note would be, no one knows what they're doing, and don't look around and think that you're the only one that's failing or not getting it. People who take the leap into entrepreneurship are radically optimistic, and also under just the most tremendous amount of stress and responsibility. So just take care of yourself, be easy on yourself, surround yourself with other entrepreneurs that get it, because you're always going to have these feelings of failure and not enough.
Right. Now, talking about your leap that you took and your invention, I mean, I was, kind of going through the website, and I found that you can find the toys that you've made in the Chinese University of Hong Kong Executive MBA program, and in pretty much in every public school in Milwaukee, and students are playing and learning in Geneva and in Nairobi and in Melbourne and Winnipeg. No matter the classroom, the students playing, the language being spoken, or the grade level, the kids are changing what learning looks like, and it is available worldwide. And to make that possible, you have partnered with UPS. Ilana, share with the audience what support or help did you rely on most as you began to upscale your business, and what did you think is the biggest benefit of using UPS for a small business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thanks for you gave some really great examples of all the places our toys are used. I always like to say it's for ages 6 to 99. So it's used by kids, but it's also used by adults. So we're actually in a lot of executive MBA programs. We're also in banks, and lawyers use our toys. So it's really quite fascinating, all the places the empathy and failure toy end up. When we first started, because we didn't have as many resources, I was able to finance the business through pre-orders. And then we also won a few awards. So one of our first awards was with actually Spin Master Toys. And Spin Master Toys is who introduced us to UPS for the first time. They're their preferred shipper. And so they introduced us to their person. And then that's how UPS got on our radar. So it was really through a referral. And as I was building the company, I hadn't thought too long or hard about why shipping would come into place. And then it became a top priority when we did our first Kickstarter campaign for the empathy toy, because we ended up in 32 countries. And so then I needed to find out, and my team needed to find out, how are we shipping to 32 countries? And what are all the things we didn't consider? Because it's not just shipping, it's customs fees and anyway, all of the different levels of detail that you need to understand when it comes to shipping and fulfillment. And so UPS became essentially an unofficial partner at that point. And so we got connected to one of their account people. And ever since then, we've been able to grow and scale with UPS's support, knowing that we're able to offer a really great shipping rate for folks who are purchasing our toys. So those folks in Geneva are not paying hundreds of dollars to get our toys, because we ethically mass produce, and all of the tactile materials that you'd see in our toys, so our guidebooks and our drawstring bags, they're all made locally here in Toronto. So we ship and fulfill from Toronto. So UPS has been a really great supporter in letting us continue to keep our warehouse and facilities here. And so The one thing I would add is when COVID hit, we were directly impacted. And so up until that point, I had my team. We were flying to multiple countries, running in-person workshops, and then also shipping toys to different schools, but also companies and individual folks around the world. Obviously, when COVID hit, there was a pause on almost all of our business, but we were able to successfully pivot. And a big part of that pivot was be able to offer our workshops online, but without removing the element of our physical toys. So what we did is, instead of bringing our toys in a bag or a suitcase, to a workshop, we would throw them in the mail, and we would actually send pieces of the toys. So not the full kit, but just parts of the kit to different folks' homes. So if you're as part of a company, big or small, we would send toys directly to your home or your home office. And UPS was a huge part of us being able to validate that we could also, run that experiment. And we're now on the other side of it, we're successfully running both online, hybrid, and now that in-person is back, we're using UPS more and more.
Oh, that's amazing. No, you're right. I mean, UPS is really the most reliable shipping company in existence. And it's not just about how quickly they can deliver packages, but also that their services cover every aspect of package delivery from beginning to end. Ilana, let's tap into your motivation, right? Because sometimes, especially because you've survived and thrived through the COVID era, it's important for us to learn that how your ambition and drive has been, very constant, because the need for ambition and drive has never been greater than it is now. And with many people dreaming of owning their own business one day, we always welcome great advice on how they can achieve their goals and be successful. That will always help them, do things in the long run. So, Ilana, what advice do you have for aspiring business owners?
It's interesting looking backwards. I think it's impossible to explain the feeling of accomplishment when you have taken an idea that you've said out loud to maybe a handful of people, and then it's not just become a reality, but you have a team, you have contractors, you have people that rely on you. You also have users and customers and folks who are messaging you and telling you that what you've done or what you've made has really created an incredible, or like changed their lives or made an incredible impact. So for me, I think what makes it worthwhile to start a business are those moments where, we were testing out our failure toy, and it was with a grade 5 classroom. And after we had tested with the kids, they went out for recess. We continued packing up, and maybe it was 30 minutes later, we left the school, and we just happened to walk right by the kids that we'd just been testing the failure toy with, and they in unison just started clapping. And I remember just having like a little tear in my eye. And moments like you mentioned before in Winnipeg, there's this incredible school that took our toys and started an empathic leadership program that reduced conflict-based bullying in their school by 85%. So there's a lot of reasons and inspirations to build a business, but you need to, like anything, be so wildly passionate and devoted to the mission of it, and have that align with your values and your skill set. That's going to get you through the ups and downs. Like anything that's new or hasn't been done before, you're going to have a bad day and a good day on the same day. You are going to get the best news and the worst news in the span of like 1 hour. And to weather the storm and to keep going, you really need to make sure that what you are building is really aligned with your intention. And the biggest lesson that I would want to share with anyone starting their business is it almost costs nothing to try and start. The real challenge is creating a business that is sustainable. And for some people, that takes 7 to 10 years. So make sure that you're in it for the long haul. It's a wild ride. You kind of get a window into what the entire world looks like and operates, and you learn all of it. And it's an incredible thing to try. If you feel that that's kind of your path. But just make sure that you know that all the skills that you needed to learn to get to step 1, you're going to need to unlearn and new skills for step 2. So your reward at each stage of your business is to unlearn everything that got you there and then relearn a new set of skills. So there's no greater classroom than starting a business.
That is powerful. Now, Ilana, what is next for your business? What is next for 21 Toys, and how do you think your business will continue to grow and evolve over time?
That's a really well-timed question. So We've learned a lot during the pandemic and going online, and it's kind of opened up, like a lot of businesses, this whole other world. So there was a moment where we thought we wouldn't survive because we have fully in-person physical wooden toys. So not only that it's played in person, but it's used in schools, it's used by HR departments, it's used by independent coaches and facilitators. There's also a lot going on in the world of manufacturing and shipping that is cause for concern, or depending on your risk, there's a lot of challenges we have to face. The things that we're the most excited about is, now that we've figured out kind of our place in all of it, there's a huge need for skills around empathy and failure now more than ever. The amount of teams that are dealing with things like communication and iteration and resilience in remote world, as well as back in the classroom. So our next big steps, and what we'll be working on throughout this year, is to take all of our in-person learning, so all of our in-person training. So we used to have folks fly in to Toronto from around the world. We'll be moving that online, and then we'll be inviting folks from educators all the way to independent facilitators and corporate teams to be able to not just get training, but get them on a path for certification. I've had folks come up to me on the street and thank me, not just for the impact of the toys, but they've said things like, I paid off my student loan because of your toys. So a lot of people have started businesses with our toys. And so we're kind of figuring out the next stage of that evolution so that we can really create that community of empathic and resilient toy leaders, toy facilitators. So that's where we're going next. It's keeping me up at night, but very exciting.
It is very interesting and very exciting. And on a personal note, your story and your motivation and everything kind of moved me. And I'm really happy, and we're so happy that we were able to chat with you on the podcast. I mean, your insights and advice will definitely be helpful for our listeners as they continue their own journeys of self-discovery. Thank you, Ilana.
Thank you so much.
Having Ilana on our podcast was like having a guest who's a big thinker and creative. She offered insights into her entrepreneurial journey that were insightful, encouraging us to think outside the box. We hope you enjoyed it. And once again, we would like to thank our exclusive shipping partner, UPS, for supporting this initiative. Please do share the podcast and feel free to check out the other episodes. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine to stay up to date on all our upcoming events and get the top business insights from industry leaders. This is Maheen, your host for the UPScale Podcast Series.